back to AFTV, everyone. We're all smiles here because we've been having a bit of a laugh, trying to cheer us up after Arsenal's recent results. But more importantly, we've got to discuss the starting 11, what we want to see first, and then what we think Mikel Arteta will go with.
Yes.
Joined by Curtis, special guest. How are you, my friend?
See you.
Good to see you.
And you respect.
You joined us on Fan Zone, not too happy the other day.
No.
But
Wasn't
a bit
it?
better now?
I've seen your streams as
better
well
now.
recently. Not too happy recently.
No,
but
I haven't been happy,
understandable.
mate. You know, they give you that belief, don't they? And then they just whip it away from you,
Yeah.
That T-shirt 7 days ago, top of the league now, a lot can change in
a lot
7
can
days,
change
mate.
in a week. A lot can change.
Is that
in
a
week.
reason to not lose belief, how quickly things can change?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
All right, well, it starts here with the FA Cup. Obviously, you guys have previewed it. Go check out the preview as well. We're going to go through the 11, and the debate is always how much do you rotate for a game like this. Now, I almost want to forget that there's a 2-week break. I think that's going to it's almost the safe way for everyone to go, well, just go full strength. There's a 2-week break. Imagine we do have a game 3 days on. Imagine we are in that regular schedule. How strong would you be going for this game, Curtis?
I think because of what's happened over the last 7 days, I do think we need to go strong
Yeah, I
for it,
agree.
because I think at the end of the day, this is the trophy that has probably kept Arteta in a job. If he never won that first FA Cup, I think he could have been out of a job. And I think we have to stop dismissing these trophies. In the Carabao Cup, we went to West Ham, made 7 changes and got beat. The reality is we've never won the Champions League and we haven't won a Prem for 20 years. So why are we turning our nose up at FA Cups?
Couldn't agree
Do you
more.
know what I mean? So for me, I know what you're saying. We shouldn't ignore the 2-week break, but I do think it gives you a reason to say I can go that little bit stronger.
Yeah.
I know if we replay, if we draw, there's a replay and that will affect it. But if I was Arteta, I'd say, look, if we can win this game, 2-week break, get into that transfer window a little bit, and then take a bit of time with your parties and that coming back, it would be a massive confidence boost.
True,
I agree.
just off the back of that, truthfully, I think Arteta doesn't do well in cup competitions.
No.
Apart from the FA Cup win, really,
Yeah, it sort of skewed it, didn't it, the FA Cup
it
win?
did,
yeah.
because apart from that, I think he's actually thrown away a lot of opportunities to win silverware in cup competitions. I think he's over-rotated many a times and just dismissed all cup competitions, not just the FA Cup, but many. And I looked back at it and was actually very frustrated. The Champions League so far, we're doing well, but we've had a favourable group. We've got favourable, we've got favourable opponents against
looked
Porto.
favourable before.
They looked just a week ago, everything looked all good. But yeah, I think Arteta is under a bit of pressure because I think he hasn't actually had a lot of good cup competitions in his tenure. So really do want him to take this as serious as possible, regardless of the break or if we didn't have a break. I want to go far and I want to win this, if I'm honest.
Okay, so let's build our 11s then.
go.
Who's ever on the starting goalkeeper? Let's start with you, Curtis.
For me, you've got to give Aaron Ramsdale a game, in my opinion. I think the only reason Ramsdale wouldn't play is if you didn't want to get him cup tied if there was a chance of selling him in January. I know all the reports are we're not going to sell him, but if somebody came in with a big offer and that allows us to bring someone in, would they sell him? I think they probably would. I think, listen, we've had the debate a lot of times.
Yeah.
I don't think Rayo is better than Ramsdale. I think they're at a very similar level
So do
with
I.
different qualities, which is why people are saying why spend 30 million on somebody that isn't an upgrade. But I think you've got to give Ramsdale a game.
Yeah, I'll be honest before I get you in. That's where I am, Sess. It's that Raya was meant to come. Everyone's telling me he's the calming presence. He commands his area. But I'm seeing set pieces against Luton. I'm seeing set pieces against Fulham. We're conceding. None of them were his fault. In fact, since that Luton game, I can't say he's really put a foot wrong.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, not putting a foot wrong is not what you expect out of a title-chasing goalkeeper. You also expect him to have big moments that save you in games. And he hasn't had that. I think a save against Tottenham is maybe the only moment where I thought, wow, he's pulled out a big moment there. I haven't seen that. Whereas at least Aaron Ramsdale did. But we might need a little bit of that against Liverpool. So I'm saying go full strength. And I actually believe still the debate rages on after all this time. I still think Ramsdale might be the better goalkeeper.
Yeah, and I think the internet and everyone online is sick of this debate, sick of this conversation. I am as a fan. It's annoyed me. I actually put it on Arteta as well because he created this whole
But I'm
thing.
glad you said this. Why not instead of being sick of the debate and the conversation, which I have been, which I've said I am, why can we not just be actually a little bit more sick of Arteta once again?
Yeah.
Signing a £30 million player, Kivior 22 million, Vieira 35 million, David Raya at 30 million, and actually going, hold on, but this isn't really working. And there's more examples there. Like, I think the frustration is it's not about the debate. The debate has been created. I've tried to ignore it. I've tried to avoid it because I just felt it's a bit pointless.
Yeah.
But once again, here we are ahead of a cup game, and it's a proper conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. I'm with both of you. I think Ramsdale should start. I think obviously he's looking. I know Pickford will probably be the England goalkeeper, but as the Euros are coming up, he's going to want some game time. Arsenal might be looking also to keep his value up. I think there's no difference between Raya and Ramsdale, and if there is, it's so marginal. That was it really worth all this debate? Probably not. So I'd go with Ramsdale. I do feel for him. I think he's a quality goalkeeper. And yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't think there's much difference. Raya did make some good saves against Fulham. I'll give him that. And he claims the ball well against Liverpool when we went to Anfield. But again, for me, is there that much difference? I think Ramsdale can do all of that as well. So for me, Ramsdale.
All right, fair enough. I agree. We all agree. Well, you said Ramsdale, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Ramsdale,
fine. So we build up back four. Reports that some are disputing, which, look, I can understand. I don't think we can pick and choose when we listen to reports, but apparently Ben White isn't fully fit at the moment.
Okay.
What do we do with that position?
I mean, we don't have a lot of options, do we? That's it. And Ben White's not playing well. Whether there is an injury that's affecting him, he just doesn't look the same player he looked last season. The problem is the alternative is probably Cedric.
Yeah.
And
Well, Tomiyasu's fit now, and then otherwise
he's
you'd...
gone to the
But
Asia
again-
Cup, hasn't he?
Oh, has he left already?
Yeah.
Huh. Good thing I'm prepared.
Yeah, there you go.
You look to me then. I'm
Quick
assuming,
Google while we get
Google, is he
everyone's
still
thoughts.
available?
I know Endo's gone.
Endo's gone, and
so it's Asia Cup. So I'm assuming Tomiyasu would have as well.
Yeah, I mean, if Tomiyasu's available, obviously you would play him, but I'm assuming...
Yes, so if Endo's gone for the Asia Cup, then that means Tomiyasu would have gone as well.
Keep chatting amongst yourselves.
But on top of this, as well, I just want to mention just quickly while
Starts
we're
on the
while
12th
we're
of
here as
January,
well.
I don't know.
So with the keeper situation, I know we're going to right back just quickly. Arteta made this whole thing a scenario. He said, I'll rotate or flip between both. Never done that. And he could have, and that would have been fine, I think, for a lot of Arsenal fans. I also want to go back to, and I don't want to bring up his mistakes, but Partey at right back frustrated me. He dropped Gabriel Magalhaes for a long period of time. Let's not forget at the start of the season. Still don't know why that was, but things did change, and we did get better when he went back. He reverted back to what we saw last season. Yeah. Right now, things aren't great, but he has made mistakes.
Tomiyasu's not available.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
So now
in reality, if Ben White is injured, you've got to play Cedric.
Yeah,
you have
there's
no other option.
That's what I've been
Tomiyasu,
saying, but everyone said, oh, well, some injuries, you can manage players through. And I'm like, listen, yeah, maybe. I'm sure the medical experts will tell you that there are certain ways that players can be carrying certain things and be playing throughout no matter what, and they can get treatment a little bit later. I hear all that. But in principle, players not playing well as being injured, I'm thinking maybe play the guy that's fit, give the guy some time out. But who knows? Look, I think for one push before a 2-week break, which I know I was saying at the beginning of the video, let's ignore that for a sec. But I think in the context of Ben White, I think he plays this and then he's 2 weeks out. I'd rather he plays this than Palace in 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
The problem you've got now is, what happens if he gets a big injury in this game then? And Tomiyasu's not available, and do you know what I mean? And they'll say, well, we knew he was injured, why did we play him? I don't know. Is a slightly injured Ben White better or a fully fit Cedric? I don't know. It's a difficult
Is it beyond the realms of possibility that Arteta actually gives a youngster a chance one day? Roy Walters is meant to be this.
Not in a game like this.
No, maybe not. And I'm not saying that's what I want, but it annoys me as a fan. That's not even an option. We should have seen enough of Roy Walters in some cup games in pre-season in the PSV dead rubber to have an idea of whether maybe he could stomach an FA Cup tie like this. I think Iwobi kind of came through in the FA Cup. Now listen, Iwobi then had a few decent years as a first team squad member. I'm not saying the answer always emerges in that situation, but these are the opportunities. You'd like to have seen a little bit more to know. Instead, we're sort of sat here guessing, well, is he good enough? We have no idea.
Well, you'd say Cedric goes in ahead of an academy player, in my opinion. I think that makes more sense.
Roy Walters, though, is more stylistically, he's taller than Cedric. He's a centre back / full back. He kind of stylistically is more similar. So, all right, well, let's build the back four then. So, I think White will play Saliba, Gabriel, and it's going to be Kivior again.
Zinchenko, I mean, again, if he's not fit, you go with Kivior. But you look at Kivior's performance the other day and the one at Luton. I feel a bit sorry for Kivior because I'm criticising him. Like you said,
I feel sorry for him.
Tall centre-back being played at left-back in the Premier League against some nippy winger. It's like
inverting into midfield,
inverting, trying to get on the ball. It's like you're setting him up to fail. And then you're dragging him off at half-time, which as a player, you get dragged at half-time. You failed in that game. So Liverpool will be targeting him.
Yeah.
That's the problem, you know.
Havertz left back.
I mean, we saw it
you know what? Somebody
internationally.
was saying Saka. Saka came through. I know they
Yeah.
won't do it, but I'm just saying.
No,
It's
listen.
not even
came
a bad-
through
it's not
it.
even a
If you
bad
change the
shout.
dynamics and you tell him to be that left back he was bombing up and down the pitch,
Yeah.
maybe. But I mean,
They're not
listen,
gonna do it, obviously.
yeah, and I personally wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
There was another idea I had in mind. Well, actually, no, sorry, it wasn't my idea. It was Graham. Graham's on Tactical Insight. If you're going to do that back four, why not have Ben White come into midfield? At least he's played in midfield for Brighton. I know Kivior's had a bit of history in midfield, but he seems a little bit more technical than a Kivior. You know, Kivior's actually quite good on the ball. Like, there's not a lot in it, and some people might say, "What's the difference?" But you could have Ben White come in.
It depends how injured he is. Because
Yeah,
if he's playing
that's
through
the
injury,
question.
he can get exposed. And that's the area you don't want to be getting exposed. If you're inverting into midfield and then you're losing the ball because you haven't got the extra percent you have when you're fully fit, that's where you're targeting. Liverpool, they will eat that up. So it just depends on that. I think the left back situation is glaring. I think that's why in the reports Arsenal are looking to get a left back in this window. That's what they're targeting. And I think that was mad when Robbie's told me that a few weeks ago, and I was like, no way. But now I understand why. But it is an issue, and I sadly haven't got the answer. Whoever's available, you put them there.
Yep, fair enough. All right, I think Kivior then. So let's go into our midfield then. What? I'm just going to give you...
Declan Rice +2, innit? You
Yeah.
know? It's him and...
Is Partey here?
Nah.
Nah.
No. He didn't even go AFCON, did he?
Yeah, I know he didn't,
He
but I
hasn't even
thought-
trained with the team yet.
I think February might be there as we see him at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
well, if he's not gone to AFCON, you'd think if he was fit, maybe it'd be like, all right, we'll keep him for the latter stages of the
Yeah,
tournament or whatever. But I'd go Odegaard, Jorginho, Rice. I would get Rice bombing up and down that pitch, box to box. I think that's his best position. It's funny because people are now talking about him not being a particularly good progressor on the ball. I think his passing's been absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Is he Thomas Partey on the ball? No, maybe not. But like he's also elite at everything else.
Yeah.
He's just very good rather than maybe elite on the ball. I'd have Rice, I'd allow him to get up and down the pitch, be that box to box. I think he is more similar to what Xhaka was for us last season. You know, in attack he can get forward, but without the ball he can drop in next to the DM. And I feel like we've lost that this season. I'd go Rice with Jorginho and Odegaard.
See, you know what I was thinking? I would go with Rice, Odegaard and Smith Rowe. It's a bit of a long shot.
Yeah.
But I just think the situation we're in at the moment, we need to throw a little curveball. We need to do something different. We've seen Fabio Vieira there. We've seen Havertz there. We've seen Trossard there. They've all struggled, in my opinion. Smith Rowe, to me, this is a guy, 100,000, number 10, England international. Give him a chance. This is a guy who scored 10 goals 2 seasons
A curveball was definitely needed. I wouldn't put it in the midfield. I think Arteta will go with what James said, and I would go with what James said.
I think he will go with that for the solidarity.
Yeah.
I would like
the front three. I think they'll be the surprise there, the curveball. But yeah,
No, but I like that because the thing with Smith Rowe is he's kind of seen as an attacking player, but he's not lightweight. Like he's got some build to him. He can make those runs off the ball, and actually with Odegaard playing a bit deeper, can you have Smith Rowe actually? Like what I'd like to see is Arteta mix it up a little bit. If you're talking about curveball, let's get Odegaard out on the left of the midfield, like combining with Martinelli a little bit.
He's
more.
always on the right,
He's
isn't he, with
always on the
Saka?
right. Can
Yeah.
we get when Saka's hugging that touchline? Can Smith Rowe make that underlapping run? Can we throw something else at teams in that way? So listen, I'd love to see that. I don't know if it's what we'll go with, but I'd love to see it. Anything you do differently or
no, I'm
Cool.
agreeing with you, James.
Right.
I think that's the midfield. I think needs to be controlled in there. I think that is the more senior and experienced midfield. I think we dominate there. I think they're going to probably end up having Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott playing as well. So I think we can dominate there. But I think the curveball comes in the attacking options because we've been toothless. So I think that's where it changes.
All right, let's go to the front three then. It's just Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, unless anyone wants to do anything crazy.
I think Eddie
different.
starts.
No, who do you want though? If Eddie starts, I'll be furious.
Seriously.
same.
Yeah.
But I actually think, you know, a lot of
Against Van
the things I know, but the things that we're seeing online, right? And there is truth to it. He didn't get many chances created for him, and Arteta might be thinking, you know what? I agree. There wasn't really much coming through from the midfield into his area.
When are people going
to score?
When are people going to finally learn that our striker is meant to be a part of the build-up? Like we can't keep throwing Eddie, but the service wasn't there. That is fair if you're talking about his general position in this Arsenal squad.
Yeah.
If you're talking about actually what he does in that 90 minutes, we know his job is to drop in and link up and make things happen. Like That's the reason we look better when Trossard's in the false. That's the reason Jesus been so good. And even though he wasn't scoring loads of goals last season, we ultimately forgave him for it because we were like, okay, we see what you're doing for the front three. My bigger problem is the drop of output from Martinelli than it is from that 9. Because the 9 is meant to facilitate that front three ultimately combining, and they're not doing it. The lack of form from the 2 wingers, for me, is more concerning than our 9 not bagging loads and loads of goals. I know Jesus has been missing chances. I'm not saying that's good enough. But it's the dynamics of the front three more than just 1 9 who puts in the back of the net for me.
I want Saka, Martinelli or Gabriel Jesus. I just think Arteta will change one of the 3 come Sunday. I think it'll either be Reece Nelson in or it'll be an Eddie Nketiah to start over Jesus.
The one I'd be okay with is Nelson for Martinelli because of Martinelli's form.
Yeah, because of his form. I mean, look, he played Eddie against Fulham and he didn't play well. He ended up, bringing on Jesus. For me, I think sometimes in football, when players are struggling, sometimes you drop them, sometimes you've got to play them into form.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think the alternatives are better than the front 3 that you just mentioned there. We've seen Trossard. He's been way off it. And Nketiah, for me, is not better than Jesus.
No.
Saka is still getting numbers, even though he's not at his best. So I think in a home game, in a big game, Martinelli knows psychologically he's had the better of Trent before. So you hope that something just clicks in a big game. I would go with that front 3. I just don't think...
Me too.
Not Eddie and Nketiah for a game like this. And Nelson, I just...
No, like I
see him
said,
starting.
what I'd want is the normal front 3. They need to step up, though, because they've been...
They all
poor.
need to step up.
They've been
Like,
poor.
I've
They've
been quite
poor.
I've been quite critical of Eddie there, but it's not. It's a style thing. It's not actually. I don't believe he. It's not that he's not giving his all. But listen, that front 3 all come for criticism as well.
Yeah.
Like
Saka's
and
been terrible.
Arteta, and he's used to that front 3. That no one in that front 3. I include Havertz in that. That's the other one, by the way. Does Havertz lead the line?
Not for me.
It's funny how none of us picked him in the team, did we?
No,
No,
we
none
didn't
of
even
us.
talk about him.
No. That shows, and that what's that saying? 65 million signing, we didn't even mention him. Listen, that could be a curveball. You could play him up front. He played there against Man City, and it was one of his better performances.
Yeah.
You could.
I don't know. I don't see him as a striker. It's so weird, and I will probably get proven wrong. But
What
I
do you
just
see
don't
him
Position
as?
do you see him? In fact, I didn't see him at Fulham. Actually,
I see him more as a striker than anything else.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I think at least he gets on the end of things. Everyone's kind of forcing this whole what's he done well at Arsenal. Oh, well, he gets into space well and he's winning duels and whatever. I think the one thing he's legitimately done well at Arsenal is get into really good goal scoring areas on a pretty consistent. From the Man United one where we shanked it, do you remember? From that to actually the goals he scored, running off the ball, getting into the box, some of the headers he's been winning in the area. I actually think his movement and positioning in the box has been the one thing I've said. This isn't just like charity praise. He's actually been legitimately good at doing that.
But he's good at that from the midfield. I think when you're a
probably
striker,
true as well.
you can be marked out the game. I think he arrives late into the box and scores crucial goals for us. I think that's because he's coming from the midfield and teams aren't picking him up. But that's my opinion. For me, he's not a striker.
Maybe
I've
true.
watched him for long
Maybe
enough
true.
to know he's not. But that's me.
Okay, all right. So let's just agree on the 11 we think Arteta will go with, though.
Yeah.
For all of us saying Ramsdale, I think it's going to be Raya.
Yep.
And we'll disagree.
It'll be Raya.
No, I think it will be Ramsdale.
Okay.
Do you?
fair enough.
Think Arteta will go
I think
Ramsdale?
he'll give him. Yeah.
I'll be
Okay.
annoyed if he doesn't. But
Me too.
I've
think
said
he'll
that
play.
so many times this season.
Okay, cool. The back 4. Do we think it's going to be Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko,
Kivior.
I think it'll be that depending on how extreme Ben White's injury is. If it's quite bad, then I think he has
Sure,
to play
injury
Cedric.
dependent. Okay.
Sorry, just quickly. I just think Mikel Arteta going with Kivior will be very interesting because once you drag someone like you said at half time, to then go back to it against Liverpool, but I don't know any other option. It's
Do you know
what's
what? Can I
killing me.
make one suggestion? Because that back 4 is, worrying really. If you've got a 70% Ben White and Kivior, could he not play a back 3? Kivior, Gabriel, Saliba.
He did do that.
3
for- he
centre
did for them.
backs.
He did change to that.
I low-key wonder whether he might chuck Rice at the back one day and do something. We
saw that as well.
With
Yeah, we did.
Jorginho, Havertz, Ødegaard or something. I don't know, like...
That scares me. That midfield.
But
It's not what I want. I'm just...
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me if he say, oh, no, but Rice is in midfield because he inverts from what, or do that Stones role, you know?
Yeah,
when he's
yeah,
sort
I
of,
get it, stepping out.
listen, I don't know. Okay, so let's agree on the midfield we think it will be. I think it will be
Your
Ødegaard,
one.
Jorginho,
Yeah, I
Rice.
think it will. He
It's
wants
his-
stability.
This has been his go-to in big games.
Yeah.
Newcastle away, Chelsea away, City at home. Okay, and then the front 3, do we think he'll go with... You think Eddie?
yeah, I might be wrong. I don't know what you guys. If you guys overrule it, that's fine.
I personally think Gabby could, because Eddie just had the game and it
Yeah.
didn't work for him. He left him on the whole game. I think Gabby comes back in.
Yeah.
Martinelli possibly could get moved out. I'm not sure if he will, but I think he's the one that you think Saka won't, but Martinelli possibly.
Yeah, he sides with Saka a lot, but Martinelli does get Trent's number.
Not start a whole new conversation, but I mean, and I feel for Trossard and all this, because again, Trossard, when he's a false nine, I feel like does actually do a good job there, but we keep trying to shoehorn him into midfield. So I don't know. Like what we've learned from this Predict 11 is Arteta does. We don't know
what he's going to
Firstly, we'd have a clue.
We ain't got a clue what he's going to
Complete waste of time. But secondly, it's that he's actually still got options for all this injury problems. We're short of depth, or whatever. He's actually got options there, and I think Jess said it perfectly from Shino's Arsenal. She said, a lot of these players are his players, where he's given them contracts or signed them. So find solutions, right? If Smith Rowe is your option, we're all looking like, oh, but Smith Rowe? No, you gave him the 10, you gave him the big contract, make it work. Havertz is your signing, Eddie you've backed, Trossard you signed, whoever it is in that front three, Kivior, if he's meant to invert from left back because you think he can do it, then make him, like coach him, get him to do it. So he's got players there. There's no one I'm looking at going, well, he has to play Cedric. Like, maybe in the case of a Ben White injury gets extreme, fine. 2 goalkeepers he signed. Whatever it is, make it work, because it's his squad and the options are his. So, no excuses, really. I expect us to go through. I do. We can't throw away another cup competition. We're at home now.
It's a must-win. It is a must-win.
I will say as well, there's a little bit of... I wouldn't say poetic, that's a bit strong. But we went to Man City in the FA Cup last year. We were way ahead of them. We rotated a little bit, and City beat us, just almost flex a little bit. Like, listen, we're coming.
Yeah.
And I know they're missing Salah, but it's an opportunity for us to beat Liverpool and say, we know we're 5 behind you, but we're coming. Now, I know they're the team, they're the squad, they're the group that have been there and done it, but they're not going to be knocked by an FA Cup defeat, but it's an opportunity just to try and get one back over them before they come to the Emirates in a few weeks' time. That's kind of lined up quite similarly to how our City games did last year. Let's see what we can do. Everyone, go like and subscribe. Go check out Curtis Shaw TV as well. Always doing fantastic streams, videos, and covering Arsenal in the way Curtis does best. So always a pleasure having you, mate. And Cecil. So anyway, subscribe to the channel. Get in the comment section. We'll see you all very soon.
Take care.